Hi F Society, hello Hamza. 61 viewers? What? Okay, I'm gonna just pop out this. Pop out chat. Hello. Should I start already? Maybe I should just go. Alright. Next scene. Things in a whole talk. Computer's dying. Okay. So in case you don't know, sometimes MacBooks have the trackpad fail and you cannot zoom in or zoom out, so you have to do this. And then you do it again. And now I can. Cool. I'd like to have the big chat and hide some stuff. Okay, now I have you open on my side. So this is a quick Figma lightning talk. Figma is a tool that designers and prototypers use. You can do every sort of thing that you can do on a design program. Like you can imagine, you have sizes, rounded corners, anything you might need. But it has some extra things that make it stand apart from like every other design tool out there right now. And here's a very brief index of what we're gonna see. This is gonna be like 10 or 15 minute talk, very quickly, just show you a few things that Figma does that others don't as much maybe. But yeah, if you haven't seen a tool like this before, this is very cool. So components, share, collaborate, affinity mapping, prototyping. So components first. If you haven't used a modern design tool, they have catch up with engineering and things like this. So imagine this is maybe like a button or anything. Yeah, I wanted to make a post-it note, so I'm gonna make it yellow, some yellow around, maybe a bit more orangey. Okay, that will do. And with some text, hello, and I bring this very down. Okay, I want it to maybe be like this. Bum. So okay, I have this thing, I can group it with Command G. And imagine I make more copies because this is post-its, these are meant to be used a lot. And I decide that I wanted all the post-its to have like maybe a different color because I didn't like this too much. So the typical thing is the problem that if you update this, not all of them will update. So what you have is components, which is, since you are programmers, it's a similar concept to classes and instances. So if I make this into a component, I'm gonna check the chat, isn't saying that, okay, all good apparently. So if I make this into a component, this is now kind of the class, and I can make instances. You can see by the icon here. So if I modify the class, which has like the initial properties, for example, this, then all of them change. In case you didn't see, in case it was not obvious, yeah, you could see it with the yellow, with the green color. And with instances, similar as in programming, if I modify properties of the instances, there's no reason why the other ones should change. So if I want to change the color, or more likely the text, there's research saying blah 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 blah, then I can do that and there's no problemo. Now for example, after writing a bit, maybe I say, okay, so maybe the text in all of them should be a bit smaller, and maybe the line height should be smaller, etc. So that's components. Next thing. Okay, share, collaborate. So, gonna check the chat very quick. All good. Um, in case you've used Google Docs or Google Sheets, which you probably have, one of our favorite features is collaboration, where you just share a link and collaborate. And here's the same thing for Figma. You can invite through email addresses. You can choose what kind of rights do they have, things like that. And just with a link, everyone could enter and collaborate, which I'm gonna do at the end of the talk. And yeah, that's it. You are able to see the cursors of the people. You're seeing everyone adding things. It's very cool. Okay, so affinity mapping. Affinity mapping is not a feature. Is not a feature of Figma. It's something that you can do with Figma. So affinity mapping is a way of collaborating and gathering information. So imagine I do a research session with someone, or I want to brainstorm with someone, and I ended up generating a lot of note post-its or a lot of text into in a document. I can turn the text in the document into post-its with insightful things. And then affinity mapping is basically grouping the post-its that talk about the same thing and maybe connecting them in some way. If they have a same topic or something, then I can write the topic about the thing. Like this talks about spread of COVID or stuff like that. And you can put a title on top of every stack or group of post-its. The cool thing about Figma is that since it's you can collaborate in real time. You can share the link with your people and you see everyone there moving the post-its, writing the stuff, and you can be in a call in Discord or whatever you want. Another thing, if you don't give edit access, people can only view, but besides viewing, there's this feature called comments, which will be the only tool they can see, and they can literally go anywhere on the design and say, here, this font style is too bold or whatever, and then people can reply, and here you can see the list of all the comments, and you can, I don't know, react and those typical things. If you're not in the comment mode, then you don't see the comments. To keep everything clear, if you want to engage with comments, you can go back to the comment mode. There will be other modes that I will show at the end, which is prototype, especially. Quickly checking. Okay. And another thing that you can do, for example, is voting on. Wait, I'm gonna lock this thing. Lock. Okay. Can I grab it? Yeah. Okay. So what if you have a lot of ideas? Imagine all of these post-its are ideas, and your team is 4 people, and you want to decide what features you want to take on or stuff like that. There's a technique called dot voting, which you vote with like plastic dots, and another which is $100 voting, which is the same thing, but you give money to people and people put money on top of the ideas, and it's like a more direct way of relating value with investment. And people have money, for example. You could change the color of every people's money to, I don't know, whatever color they like, and everybody has a stack of money, and they just put it on the ideas that they think are better and things like that. It's just a way of collaborating that you can use, even just for yourself to have a clearer idea of what are your priorities. Okay, and that's affinity mapping. There's some examples that I will show after this. So 2 plugins I wanted to show. One is Arrow Auto. So plugins in Figma are here, and you have to. They are written in JavaScript by anyone. They're usually open source. So with Arrow Auto, you select 2 items and you click link, and you get an arrow, and you can change the color. The cool thing is, instead of just being a regular object like all of the other things that you've done so far. So if I move this, this is still like a regular graphic object that I would do. It's not updated. There's no intelligence. So the arrow auto has this action that says update, and I click this, and it knows which things were connected with each other, and it just connects them. And that's very useful if you want to have like user flows or things like that easily done in Figma. And the other one is the product planner plugin that I wanted to show. I'm gonna go over here, open the product planner, and there's a lot of templates of canvases and things you can use to think about your products, about your users, and you just select one of the templates, and you're given even post-it objects and stuff to work with. I'll show it when it finishes loading, maybe. Okay, there it goes. Come on. So yeah, you have a lot of templates, and whatever you want, you just click, and you will have I think, yeah, one of these pops out. This is huge. Okay, there it goes. And you have post-its for everything, and everybody writes collaboratively. You can see what other people... It's basically a big wall, but you can share it remotely, which is very good for these times. And checking chat, okay. And then some examples of things I've done with these methods. For example, I had a long session with some friends about how to best make a product design portfolio, and some feedback about my CV. So I took a lot of notes in a notebook, and I brought those notes into Figma, into post-its, and I put them all together, and I grouped them into topics, and now it's so much easier to navigate all the important information. And for some other meetings or stuff, here's like thinking about needs, how to solve those needs, what requirements do those needs have, and here's arrow auto helping me put those things together. Alright, and that's it for the affinity mapping. Prototyping, which is the last point in the index. So prototyping is a very cool thing you can do with Figma. Every modern design tool that is out there, you can do this sort of prototyping, but with the cool thing in Figma is that it's collaboratively with one link you can share, and it also has additional features which other design tools have, but I'm not really gonna show them now. And here, for example, is I'm gonna quickly make a prototype with this. So imagine this is the first screen and this is the second screen. So how do we go from the first screen to the second? We need a button. So I get this button here, and I say start judging. And now how do I connect these screens? So I go to the prototype mode thing here, and this ball appears, and I can just drag it into any of the screens I want. In this case it will be this one, and I can choose when does that happen, like how does this get triggered. Figma supports mouse, enter, hover, those kind of things. Most design tools don't support it. It also supports key and gamepad triggers. So if I'm viewing the prototype, I'm gonna start playing it just so that you see. If I'm on this prototype here and I press a key or a button in a gamepad, that could also trigger a navigation. You can also trigger other things like open an overlay. This is cool for menus or in mobile where there's this pop-ups or popovers that come from the button, things like that, or maybe like a side menu. So yeah, navigate to this screen. We could animate or not animate. So here, for example, so if I click, I go to the next one, but I could have more things like, I don't know, I bring this thing to this screen and I make it have 0 opacity, which is here. and I bring this HackUPC thing to this other screen, and I have it make it have 0 opacity. And now, if instead of choosing the instant animation, I choose Smart Animate, Figma tries to match elements between screens and will animate their properties over the amount of time that you tell them to, and with different timing options. So now I go here, I go back to the initial screen. Now there should be some kind of fade in, fade out in the titles and everything actually. Okay, cool. Next thing, just one more transition to try. Here, let's move this thing here, only the ellipse please. Okay, I cannot do it because it's a component, so I'm just gonna break the instance, and now I can move the ellipse. And now I go to this ball, I say okay, to this screen, let's try the on track, and let's just Smart Animate, or okay, let's try what happens. I'm not so sure what happens, but let's see. So I go to this one, I can drag, and yeah, and now I could make done goes to another project, and after a few projects there's like a you are done screen, no more judging to go to the ceremony room, stuff like that. And that's the ending of my quick overview of some features of Figma. Thank you for coming to this remote talk. If you want to follow me, this is me on Twitter and on everywhere. I'm also specialized in multiplayer game development, so if you have any questions about that, you can also ask me. And of course, anything about Figma, I'm able to also answer it. Now I go into the Q&A mode, which is this one, and I'll go to the chat to see if anyone has any questions or how would you do this on Figma. Hi, if you're prototyping and some collaborator changes it, what happens? So as far as I know, the prototypes change in real time. So let's say I'm here in this prototype. If I go to here and change this for currently, sorry, I'm selecting the HackUPC both in 0 alpha text. Currently judging review sound. Imagine that. Oh wow, cool. Quick note here, I added the interaction to the master component of this sliders thing, so now all of them actually have that transition, which is not what we want. So you would break the instance and only add it to one of them. But on the other hand, if you want to add an interaction to all the copies of something, you can. For example, in mobile, or if you have like a navigation bar and that's an instance, you can add an interaction to one of those buttons, and it will work for all the screens. It will take you to whatever screen you made. So here it is updated in real time, which was your question. And the last one, you can export it to Adobe XD or some other tool. I don't really know. I would Google to know. My question back would be, what do you want that for? But yeah, like any other tool, you can export every frame as PNG, JPG, SVG, or PDF. For example, my CV was made here in Figma, and I even was able to add links to the PDF by adding like an interaction to the object, and I say open URL, and I say this link, and on the PDF export it works. This QR was generated with a plugin, by the way. It could be designed as sales funnel with Figma. Okay, Hamza, you're welcome. See you later. Sonia, are you? So designing is a very broad word for me. Are you talking about like a visualization of your product sales funnel to have like a broad view of it, like having some kind of template where you put information, or you mean like prototyping an app and going through every stage of the sales funnel? Answering to myself, you can do both things. You can have some kind of template like this ones where you gather the information about the current state of your sales funnel, and you can also make a prototype and share it with a tester that you want to observe how they go through your app. Or maybe you mean totally something else with the sales funnel. Gonna Google sales funnel. Yeah, I guess it's more or less what I was imagining. Gonna check again if there's comments. But yeah, literally with Figma you can do mostly everything, and if you cannot do it, you can use a plugin or make your own plugin. It doesn't mean that it's the best tool for that thing. Maybe, for example, right now I don't have a way to do Control F and search through all the text in these post-its, which is bad, but you could make a plugin for it if nobody has done it yet. Okay, I'm gonna share this to see if in case anyone wants to edit it. I'm gonna make a copy for myself in case people screw it up too much, and I'm gonna share with edit. Anyone with the link can edit, and I'm gonna copy the link, I'm gonna post it on the chat, and you can go crazy trying the prototypes, modifying the stuff. Maybe this portfolio or CV advice is helpful to you, I don't know. Oh look, there's people's cursors already. And there's crazy things that people are doing with Figma. For example, the other day I saw someone that made a plugin to make dice in Figma, and it's like a dice graphical object, and you can click a button to re-roll the dice, and people use that to play board games on Figma. And to make it easier for you and also sell myself a bit, I'm gonna add a link to my TikTok profile. Which I'm putting there. And feel free to ask me any questions. And I'm gonna close the stream now, because someone comes at 2 p.m. I think, or something like that. But yeah, thank you very much for coming. I hope you enjoyed it. See you on the next hackathon, virtual reality, virtual hackathon. I might do this thing again for new people, and I will probably do a multiplayer talk with an online game like EDA, hopefully. See ya.